All right, guys, welcome back to the channel, and this week we're going to be talking about gear machinas. Let's get into it.
So we have, as with any Machina deck, we have our 3 gear frames and our 3 fortress. It's kind of the heart of the deck. It's kind of the reason why we run the ancient gears. So we also run the scrap recycler to get the fortress in the graveyard. You want that in graveyard as soon as possible. We run Gear Town, so we run Ancient Gear Beast. This thing is 1 tribute normally, but with Gear Town out, Gear Town says that both players pay 1 less tribute cost for Ancient Gear monsters. So this thing is no cost. So this thing is 2,000 normal summon. Has the standard Ancient Gear when you attack, they can't deprison, mirror force you, whatever. But on top of that, it has the Revive King Hades effect. So also it means that when you destroy a Necro Gardener or a Vayu or whatever by battle, same with Treeborn Frog, it can't activate its effect in the graveyard. It also means that you can like avoid stuff like Rykos. If you know they have a Ryko or a Hamster, you attack it with this and they can't do anything about it. We run 3 Ancient Gear Golem. Now this card is only 1 tribute technically under Gear Town, but we're probably never using for that. It is a free pitch basically for our Machina Fortress to get it back. You know, you could use it for other stuff, I guess, but that's the main thing. It has piercing, so that's relevant later on in the game if you attack a Ryko. You're in these to get off of Gear Town, and we're running machines, so we run Cybers on the off chance that, you know, something happens, but it's just, this is a super aggressive deck, so we gotta run Cyber Dragon. All right, 3 Gear Town. So Gear Town is pretty crazy. Obviously, we talked about the first effect. The other effect, though, whenever it is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, hand or graveyard. And most of them can't be special summoned except this guy. This guy can be special summoned, so anytime one of these gets destroyed, this comes out from anywhere. So it means that you can run bricks like that card, and they still become useful even after you pitch them. We run Terraforming, so as a 4th target, we run Mausoleum of the Emperor. If we have to tribute for, you know, a fortress, or we have to tribute for whatever we can with Mausoleum of the Emperor, we needed a 4th target, and this makes like Ancient Gear Beasts and stuff like that less dead later game if you've already gone through all your Gear Towns. We obviously run our Terraformings to search our stuff. We run our staples in Brain Control and Heavy Storm, as well as MST. So Heavy Storm and MST serve a dual purpose though in this deck. You can, if your opponent has a bunch of back row, or your opponent has 1 back row, you can Heavy Storm to destroy your own Gear Town, and you'll get its effect. So it serves multiple purposes. We also run a Giant Trunade. This is an OTK deck, so we kind of need back row out of the way. And sometimes we top deck our OTK, so we kind of have to be able to use it immediately, unlike being able to use Traps then. As part of our OTK deck or Machine deck, so we're running Limiter Removal, you can get a ton of damage on board, as well as Megamorph. Both of those cards can just add a ton of damage, and I can go into later why these cards can be incredibly good. All right, moving into our traps, we run the standard 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, Solemn Judgment. We run a Call of the Haunted. We're sending a lot of machines to graveyard, and late game we might not have a way to even bring back Fortress or our Ancient Gear Dragon, so it's a good way to get a thing back. Compulse, similar situation. If we have an Ancient Gear Dragon on the field that's about to die to Torrential or something, we can bounce it back to our hand to be able to pitch it for Fortress. So that's a defensive way. Offensively, if they make like an Absolute Zero or an Armor Master or something you can't really get over, you can kind of compulse it back, similar to Spirit Reaper. These are just versatile. Originally, these were 2 other, like, you know, Deprisons or something like that, but a lot of times what you need is just something really flexible. This card is super flexible, similar to Frogs, and that's why I kind of took the idea. It serves 2 purposes. So first off, you can destroy your own Gear Town if you need to. Also, you can pop back rows, right? Because while all your Ancient Gear monsters stop Deprisons, Mirror Forces, stuff like that, you still get wrecked by Torrential Tribute, you still get wrecked by Bottomless Trap Holes, stuff like that. So this can pop back rows. In addition, it discards a card, so you can discard your Fortresses, right, to get them in the graveyard. If you have like Fortress in hand and an Ancient Gear monster, normally you'd have to pitch both to summon the Fortress, but if you Regeki break the Fortress and then pitch the Ancient Gear Golem or Gajiltron Dragon, you can immediately bring this back. So it kind of turns the negative of the discard into a break even and destroy a card. So it ends up not being super terrible. All right, and last is our 40th card, Magical Hats. So this card seems ridiculous, but hear me out on this, right? Okay, so Magical Hats says when on your opponent's battle phase, you can flip this up and target one of your monsters that you control, so you'd have to have any monster, you know, Cyber Dragon or, you know, Scrap Recycler or whatever, right? Put it face down and choose 2 non-monster cards from your deck, treat them as normal monsters, put them on face down defense and shuffle them, and obviously they can be destroyed by battle and go to the graveyard. However, at the end phase, even if they're not, they get destroyed and sent to the graveyard. So the way that this works with Gear Town is that if I have any monster, right? If I have, Cyber Dragon up, right? And I have Magical Hats set. They go into their battle phase and attack me with anything, right? And I flip Magical Hats. So Cyber Dragon goes face down. I have 2 Gear Towns that go face down. Let me just grab a Gear Town here, right? So let's say they are privy to what's going on, so right, they don't attack, right? So in the end phase, those 2 Gear Towns get destroyed. Well, guess what? They are destroyed and sent to the graveyard. So they will both trigger and summon 2 Gajiltron Dragons. It's a pretty crazy play. I don't know that it's all that competitive, but to be fair, I don't think this deck is the most competitive deck you could possibly build. It's just kind of something that's really fun in OTK. So if I can play Magical Hats in a competitive setting, I don't know why I wouldn't. Our extra deck, I'm not going to go super into. We run Brain Control, so you can technically make any of these guys, like if they leave a tuner out. Nothing really special here. We do run 3 Chimera Techs because your opponent's going to be siding Chimera Tech against you, and so you want to be able to not only use your Chimera Tech offensively, but defensively as well. Our side deck, we have 2 Crows. A lot of this is fairly self-explanatory. Grand Mole, you're going to see a lot of Spirit Reapers and like Fossil Dinos and stuff. This just like outs a lot of problem side deck cards. Gores, your opponent is going to wait until you don't have a Gear Town out. They're not going to blow up the Gear Town, so it's going to be on you game 2 to blow it up. And then when you blow it up, if they bottomless your monster, you have a backup play. Kind of the same reason for my body. You're going to have a lot of side deck hate in there. We side 2 different field spells because we run Terraforming. So Zombie World is really good in matchups like Fairy Sworn, Christia decks, stuff like that. Obviously you don't side it against zombies, but it makes it so that all of your opponent's fairies in graveyard are now zombies, so they can't ever summon Christia unless they tribute for it. In addition, it says that you can only tribute for zombie monsters, so they can't tribute for Christia. It also hurts frogs quite a bit. They have to out this because they can only tribute for zombie monsters, and none of the Edison format monarchs are zombies. Gaia Power is specifically for Blackwings. You put this in because if you have an Ancient Gear monster and Gaia Power, it is really hard for them to collude over it with 1 collude. Generally speaking, collude adds 1400. So with Ancient Gear, Gajiltron Dragon, and this, Gajiltron Dragon is 3500 attack. So if they have like any Blackwing, even Sirocco, right, is their highest attack Blackwing. Main deck, sorry, Blackwing. Sirocco plus Colute, they still can't get over Ancient Gear Gajiltron Dragon, so it means that they basically have to have one of the Synchros or multiple Colutes to out our monsters. Light Mirror, because, fairies is a thing, and obviously Christia, wrecks you, so you ideally want to hamper the deck as much as possible so that you don't get Christia'd. Double Dust Tornado for back row heavy decks. Torrential for stuff like frogs. Duplock can be a pain. Malevolent Catastrophe works similarly to Regeki Break in that it's double-sided. I can set Catastrophe against back row heavy decks and have my Gear Town up, and then they will attack, assuming that, nobody assumes that this card exists. And then they will attack, and I will not only destroy their back row, but also I will get a monster off of Gear Town. And then Magic Cylinder for... this is for our Game 3s. Or Game 2s, I'm sorry. This is for Game 2. There's a lot of crazy situations where you're hitting for so much damage that you're only 1,000 or 2,000 off of being lethal, and this can just win you the game in Game 2 and 3.
All right, guys. Well, this has been Gear Machina. Man, this deck is so much more fun than all the other Machina variants because of the fact that you can use magical hats of all things, right? And you can heavy your own Gear Towns, and you can run Regeki Breaks in so many ways, extra terraformings and everything else. You can run crazy cards like Gaia Power, right, to out Blackwings. This deck is so fun to play, but on the same vein, it is so frustrating. The fact that you're running Ancient Gear Gajiltron Dragons that you don't want to draw unless you have a Fortress in graveyard. Same with Ancient Gear Golems. You could just open up 2 Gajiltron Dragons, 2 Golems, and, a Terraforming and have nothing, right? Have no actual play. But those times that you do open, like, Gear Frame, Gear Town, and everything else, like, Limiter Removal, plus Megamorph on a Gajiltron Dragon is insane. You can have a lot of fun with this deck, but it can also be very frustrating. Similar to the Gadget deck, I wouldn't say that you should probably build this if you're looking to be super competitive, but if you want to break from some of the frogs and Blackwings of the formats, right? Build this, surprise your locals, and win a PS5 or something with it. All right, I'll see you guys out on the next video.